That evening, the campus seemed asleep. The sun had long set, giving way to a warm, silent night. Streetlights cast a pale glow on the ochre walls of the university. In the central amphitheater, most students had left hours ago. Empty benches, the echo of the supervisor's heels, and forgotten papers on desks lent the place an almost unreal atmosphere. Malik walked quickly, in a hurry. He'd forgotten his bag in the lecture hall after the last class, caught up in a conversation with a friend. He'd hesitated to come back, but something had urged him on. A kind of curiosity. An inner tension he couldn't name. As he approached the amphitheater, he noticed the building wasn't entirely empty. A light was on at the end of the hallway. And a sound. Faint. Steady. Screech, screech, screech. He slowed down. His steps, once confident, became cautious. He turned the corner softly. The light flickered slightly, giving the scene an almost surreal quality. And there, he saw her. Aminata. She was crouched in front of a glass window, a cloth in hand. She wore a grey apron, dark pants, rubber gloves. Beside her, a bucket, a mop, a spray bottle. Her face, focused, was turned toward the glass she scrubbed with care. She hadn't seen him. Time stopped. Malik stood frozen, unable to move. Everything he thought he knew about her crumbled in an instant. The best student in the class. The mysterious major de promo. The quiet girl who never laughed. The one who arrived early, left late. The one everyone admired or feared. She was cleaning the university. Aminata finally sensed a presence. She straightened up, turned slowly, and their eyes met. Silence. She stared at him. Her heart raced. Malik seemed rooted to the spot. She felt the blood drain from her face. Her secret exposed. By him. Malik, she said, her voice barely a whisper. He blinked, as if snapping out of a dream. Is that your secret? He said, his tone a mix of shock and disbelief. You clean the windows. You're the major of promo, and you clean the toilets. The silence was heavy. Almost painful. Aminata looked away, her gaze dropping to the floor. She gripped the edges of her cloth. But then, suddenly, she raised her head, standing tall, dignified. Her eyes were steady. Genuine. Yes. I clean. I sweep the hallways, I wash the windows, I disinfect the toilets. And I do it with pride. Because while others play at appearances, I fight. I fight to learn, to succeed, to care for my mother. I don't have a driver, no Chanel bag. But I have courage, Malik. Each word struck the air like a slap. Not to wound, but to awaken. She tucked her cloth into the bucket, grabbed the mop, and turned away. You can tell the others if you want, she added without looking back. You can laugh with them tomorrow. I don't care. I have nothing to hide. And she walked away, leaving Malik alone in a hallway that now felt too vast for him. The next day, the sun shone as if nothing had happened. Students poured in, chatty, carefree. But Malik was elsewhere. Sitting at the back of the class, he didn't speak. He kept replaying the scene. Aminata's words echoed in his mind. Her dignity. Her strength. He watched her enter, as she did every morning. Same white shirt, same worn bag, same focused gaze. And yet, he no longer saw the same girl. He saw a warrior. A survivor. Someone who deserved far more than mockery. Beeline, meanwhile, hadn't noticed a thing. She approached him, her tone mocking. So? Did you talk to your little silent star? Did you find out her secret? Malik turned his head slightly, his gaze blank. No. You're lying. You've got a weird look. You know something, don't you? I didn't say anything, Beeline. And it was true. He hadn't said a word. But in his mind, a battle raged. Should he speak? If he did, he'd expose her. Break her. He knew how the others were. They'd laugh. They'd call her a liar, a poor girl, a maid. She'd become a target. But if he stayed silent, she'd keep her dignity. And he'd keep his admiration intact. And for the first time, Malik chose against his pride. A few days later, as the last rays of sunlight streamed through the window of a nearly empty classroom, Aminata was packing her things into her old blue bag. It had been a long day. She was about to leave for her second life, the one in the shadows. But someone walked in. Malik. He approached, hesitant. She looked up, surprised. He stood before her, hands in his pockets, eyes steady. I'm not going to tell anyone, Aminata. Not a soul. Because what you do is noble. You're stronger than everyone who mocks you. She stood still, unable to speak. He'd spared her. Respected her. And she could see it, he was sincere. Then he smiled, a hint of mischief in his eyes. But I'm warning you. On the next assignment. I'm going to beat you. And this time, I'll have no excuses. She burst into laughter. A real laugh. Not forced. Not polite. A liberated laugh. For the first time, she didn't feel alone. But as they left the room, unbeknownst to them, in the shadow of the hallway, a pair of eyes watched. Someone had overheard. Someone knew now. And that secret might not be so safe anymore. A few days had passed since that evening. Since the moment Aminata's secret had wavered. Since that glance exchanged in an empty hallway. Since Malik, the popular boy, had chosen respect over ridicule. Aminata had returned to her routine. Head down. Eyes focused. Movements precise. Same white blouse. Same worn blue bag. Same elegant solitude. But something had shifted within her. A kind of relief. A quiet peace. She was no longer entirely alone in carrying that invisible burden. Malik knew, and he hadn't betrayed her. Better yet, he had looked at her with admiration. And that was enough for Aminata to find her courage again. But she didn't know that her secret might not be so secret anymore. There had been that sound, that night. A rustle. A breath. A faint step, barely audible. Someone, in the hallway, had eavesdropped. Someone had caught their words. Their glances. The word, toilet, whispered with shame. The phrase, I won't say anything. And that promise, made like a pact. But in a university where tongues move faster than feet, a single whisper can spark a storm. The next morning, Aminata felt a change in the air. She walked through the hallway, as always, upright and calm, but this time, the stairs were heavier. Students she didn't know fixed their eyes on her, whispering. Others laughed under their breath. Someone even pointed at her. A knot formed in her throat. Then came the cafeteria. Saraya, seated at her usual table, smoothie in hand, let out a loud giggle as Aminata walked in. Look who's here. The top student. Or maybe, the top cleaner, she said in a sugary, fake tone. A wave of laughter rippled through the room. Aminata froze. Her blood turned to ice. Her heart pounded. She didn't respond. She kept walking, tray in hand, as if she hadn't heard a thing. But the voices grew clearer. Apparently, she scrubs windows as well as she writes essays. Does she have a student ID or a cleaning badge? Honestly, if I'd known, I'd have asked her to clean my sneakers. Each phrase was an arrow. Each laugh, a stab. She sat alone, as always. But this time, the solitude burned. Malik arrived late that day. When he entered the classroom, a brief silence fell. He saw Aminata, seated in the front row, motionless, frozen. He saw the smirks, the accusing glances. And he understood. Someone had talked. Someone had overheard. And now, everyone knew. He sat beside her. For the first time, she didn't look up. She stared at her notes without reading them. Her fingers trembled slightly. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I don't understand how." She didn't answer. She took a slow breath. And she picked up her pen. The day was agony. Everywhere she went, eyes followed. Some whispered. Others snapped discreet photos. A picture of her with her cleaning bucket had even started circulating on a university WhatsApp group, paired with a mocking caption. "Meet the cleaning queen. Major of the mop." She saw the image on someone's phone. She said nothing. She felt tears welling up, but she held them back. Not here. Not in front of them. That evening, she hesitated. Should she go home? Stay hidden? Run away? But no. She went back to the janitorial closet. She put on her apron. She grabbed her bucket. And she started cleaning, as she did every night. But this time, with hands that trembled slightly. With the fear that someone might walk in. With the weight of all those who now knew. But what she didn't know, was that in that mocking crowd, there were exceptions. Students who, seeing her persevere despite the shame, began to question themselves. A professor who, upon learning what she did, decided to speak of her to the administration. And above all, Malik. He'd spent the night thinking, reading, writing. And the next day, during an oral philosophy assignment in front of the entire class, he asked to speak. "Today, I'm not going to talk about Nietzsche or Kant," he said calmly. "I'm going to talk about courage. The real kind. Not the kind you shout. Not the kind you flaunt. But the kind you hide. The kind you wear like armor under a wrinkled shirt." The room fell silent. There are people here who laughed this week. Who shared a photo. Who thought they were better than someone just because she sweeps a hallway. But that person, she's the one who deserves our applause. And without naming her, he spoke of Aminata. Of her work. Of her silence. Of her dignity. And for the first time, the room applauded. Aminata, seated, heart racing, didn't know where to look. She felt exposed. But deep down, she sensed something had shifted. She was no longer a source of shame. She was an example. And even if some mockery lingered, even if not everything was fixed, she had gained something more precious than fear, respect. But in the shadows, a voice still whispered. Someone wasn't ready to let this girl shine so easily. And Aminata's story was far from over. It had been a few weeks since Malik gave his big speech at school. Things were getting better at the university. People used to laugh at Aminata, but now they started to like her. She wasn't invisible anymore. Students who never talked to her before said hi in the hallways. Some smiled at her or said nice things like, "You're so brave." Even some teachers heard her story and told everyone in class how hard she worked. But there was still a problem. Saraya, a mean girl, didn't like that everyone was cheering for Aminata. She wanted to get Aminata in trouble. Saraya made a fake paper with a friend. The paper said Aminata cheated on a test. They sent it to the school bosses and asked them to kick Aminata out. Soraya thought this would make Aminata look bad forever. When Aminata found out, she was so scared. She felt like the ground was shaking. The school bosses called her to a big meeting. She sat all alone in front of serious teachers. But Aminata stood up tall and said, "I didn't cheat. I worked really hard for my grades." Her voice shook a little, but she was strong. She showed them her notebooks and all her hard work. She was so honest, even though she felt like crying. Soraya didn't know that Malik and some other kids wanted to help Aminata. Malik found out about the fake paper. He looked for clues and found messages that showed Soraya was lying. He got some kids who used to laugh at Aminata to help her. They told the school bosses, "Aminata is a good student. She doesn't cheat." A nice teacher also helped by saying Aminata was the best student with a big heart. The school bosses listened and said, "Aminata didn't cheat. She's a good girl." They got mad at Soraya and her friend and told them they couldn't come to school for a little while. Soraya felt embarrassed and wasn't so popular anymore. Bilain, Soraya's friend, decided to stay away from her and focus on her own schoolwork. Aminata felt so happy. It was like a big heavy rock fell off her shoulders. A few days later, at a special school party, Aminata was called on stage. They gave her a big award for being the best student and so brave. Everyone clapped so loud. Aminata smiled big for the first time. She was so happy, she had tears in her eyes, but they were happy tears. The school also gave Aminata extra money to help her and her mom, Kadiatu. With that money, Kadiatu got better medicine and started feeling stronger. Aminata didn't have to clean so much anymore. She could study more and spend more time with her mom. Malik became Aminata's good friend. They studied together and had fun trying to get better grades than each other, but they were always nice about it. Bilain stopped being mean, and Soraya came back to school quieter, learning to be a better person. At the university, new kids started talking about Aminata. They didn't call her the cleaning queen anymore. They called her a hero, a girl who turned something sad into something amazing, and who made everyone want to be better.